Okay, well, we're in a studio here that has been designed for life drawing. It has high ceilings. It has north light, which is coming from, in terms of our model today, and this is Amber, that's modeled for me quite often. She's a dancer and a very good model, and we appreciate her willingness to pose for us. But as she is lit from the upper right-hand side, the light is coming down. It's north light, and it's coming down about 45 degrees. And what is the advantage of that particular light, other than the fact that it's very consistent coming from the north in our hemisphere, is that it defines planes, both vertical and horizontal. In other words, if it were coming from 12 o'clock, it would have a tendency to define the horizontal planes, but if it were coming about 3 o'clock, it would define the vertical planes quite nicely. But this one, coming at about 45 degrees, defines planes coming both directions. It's a single point light, and what that means is that we have some reflected light, but the model is not lit with a double light source or a triple light source. And artists through the years, again speaking traditionally, have found that when there's a single or a direct light source, it does a much better job of defining, or allowing the artist anyway, to define form and structure. You'll notice on our model that her head and shoulders are closer to the light source than, say, her foot, and that means also that the lighter lights will be higher on the model. The forehead and the shoulders are more proximate to this light source. It's also helpful for students to understand that the lightest lights in their drawing that will correspond to planes on the model will be on those surfaces that are most perpendicular or most at right angles to the light source. The walls in this studio have been painted a certain color. It's also a painting studio as well as a drawing studio, and a lot of ateliers or studios of artists in the Western tradition have been painted sort of a grayish, khaki, green, lower value, and you can see that our model looks just really stunning against this color. It reveals her as a light against the dark, at least the light parts of her. It's neutral enough that the darks also are dark against this surface, but the lights really stand out. And also the model, even under this rather cool, indirect north light, is much warmer than the background. So the warmth also allows her to come forward. The light coming from this single light source will cause some elements to project out in front of light rays and cast shadows on other parts of the figure. Even on the floor you see a cast shadow from the model and the stool and so forth. These shadows tend to be more hard edge, and then if you come down her arm or you come down her cheek, the zygomatic arch, you'll see a softer shadow, and those shadows are what we call form shadows or core shadows. And this is a very important concept, again, in Western culture, in the Western tradition, to defining form, is understanding not only the nature and the direction of the light, but the nature of the shadows that are created on a form when it's lit from the upper right or the upper left, but lit at about a 45-degree angles from above. And it also occurs to me, and it has occurred to me over the years that I've spent teaching and also performing drawings myself, or at least drawing life drawings, that our notion of structure, our understanding of structure, in the world as we know it is governed a lot by light coming from above. We don't live in a world where the light comes from the center of the earth, but we live in a world that's generally lit from the sky or lit from the top, occasionally from the side, but rarely is it lit from the bottom. And this is, I think, important in terms of understanding how we perceive our world. All drawing, I believe, is a combination of what you see and what you know. And we can talk more about that, but there's definitely a influence of the elements of our existence that have to come into our notion of interpreting the world and understanding the world about us.